Hello, and welcome back to the McCall's Quilting Summer Garden Quilt Along. I'm Laura Roberts. I'm your hostess on this wonderful adventure of ours, and I want to thank you for joining me. So today we finally get to start playing with the blocks. They're very simple piecing and easy to make. The only thing you really have to watch for is fabric placement. So I'll show you how that all goes together. We'll just sit down and get started right now. And I'm going to start with 2 7/8 inch squares. I'm going to sew them together and get my little half square triangles. And these will be used in the block in multiple places. So in the first corner block, which is that one in the upper left, I'm going to show you first of all how to make these 2-piece squares using the large green print, large green floral, and the little cream print. So the first thing to do you remember when I was drawing diagonal lines on the wrong side of squares before? It's the same thing. You're going to draw a diagonal line on the back of a cream square, 2 7/8 inch square. And you're going to put it right sides together with a large green floral square, just like that. I'm going to take it over to the machine. And it's the way you've been making half square triangles for a long, long time. You're going to sew 1/4 inch to either side of that line. And I don't feel like I need to pin it, but you certainly can if you want to. So I'm just going to bring the foot, there we go, get that presser foot up so I can put it down right where I want it. And I'm just going to sew 1/4 inch to that side, like that. And I'm just going to turn around and do 1/4 inch on the other side. This is the perfect thing for chain piecing, as you can imagine, because you're just going to be running them through over and over again. All right. There we go. That was pretty easy. Okay, and I'm just going to bring it over here and show you. All you need to do now, before you get your glasses off, is just cut it apart down the middle, like that, and press it open. So to press to the dark side, you're going to want to have the dark side up, the darker fabric up, and then you just press right across like that. There's that one. And I'll do the same thing with this one. Oops. I want to make sure you get those open in the corners. Okay. And then I just prune off the dog ears. And that's all there is to it. And you have 2 green, large floral and cream half square triangles. I've already made these guys over here. So you'll be making those in the quantities shown in the pattern. Quantities and fabrics, because the 4 corner blocks are they're a little bit different, and the instructions just carry you right through telling you what you need to make with which fabrics, so you'll be fine. Okay, so those are done. Now, the next little unit I need to make is this one. It's a piece rectangle. It's the same technique, sort of. You're going to stitch on the diagonal line and flip it open. So let me show you how that works. The key thing with this is to make sure that you're sewing in the right direction. So here's a 2 1/2 inch square. I've drawn a diagonal line on the back, and I'm going to put it down like this. And if you look at your pattern, you'll see the diagram shows you this, because I want the seam to go along like that, okay? Just pay attention to that, because if you put it like that, you're going to have it going the wrong way. So this is pretty straightforward. And it's very similar to the kind of flying geese that are shown in the pattern, where you are going to stitch just like I'm going to do here, and then you trim and flip, and that's how you get a flying goose. So you can do that way as well as the way I showed you earlier. All right, a couple of segments ago. Here we go. All right, now this time, instead of sewing to the side of the line, I'm sewing right on that line. Let's get that foot up a little bit. Whoa! Every once in a while, the machine sort of takes off. Look at that. worked out just fine. Okay, so I'm just trimming that off, bring it back over here. And I'm just going to trim that 1/4 inch seam allowance, like that, whoops. And I'm going to press this open. Like that. Now, I could press that seam allowance to the back of the green, and I think I will. Usually we press, when you're pressing one of those, you're going to press open and it just falls that way, but I really want that seam allowance hiding behind the green because the cream is so light. So I'm going to do that. There we go. And there you have it. Okay, so you're going to make these. You're going to make 4 of these per block. And then there are these units which are down, kind of lower down in the block. They're down like down here. And what's different about these is that you're going to be putting these squares on with the seam going in different directions. So you're going to make equal numbers. Again, it's all laid out for you in the pattern. And so I've drawn my diagonal lines. I'm going to put them right there. And I'll just sew one to show you. I have a tip for you though. This is kind of, I think this is really handy when you're sewing things like this, where you're sewing a square onto the end of a rectangle. You can get into trouble right here. If you start with that little point going first, it can go right down the hole in your machine. So instead of doing that, turn this around like that. And you're going to start sewing at the end of the line, but it's in the middle of the strip. So it's not going to disappear and go look down into your machine and gunk things up. If you've ever had that happen, and I'm sure you have, you know how unfun that is. All right. I'm going to sew down like that. Okay, take that out. Bring it back over here. And it's the same thing. I'm just going to trim that away and press it open. Like that. Just like that. And there's that piece. Now for this one, I would do the same thing, sewing on the other, in the other direction. You probably don't really need to see me do that. It's just exactly the same. Remember to start in that strip, not on the point, and just sew, and you'll end up with this piece. Okay? So what's going to happen then is you start putting these pieces together until you have a corner unit that is, there are 4 of them in the corner block. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Get these guys out of the way. You're going to love this. It's just so easy. Okay. And these are the guys you need. When you have made everybody, you've got all your bits and pieces, this is what you're going to have to work with. Okay, so you're going to start by sewing one of your green and cream piece squares to a 2.5 inch, whoops, cream square like that. And there we go. Wasn't that fast? Then this unit is going to get sewn to a unit just like the one I showed you. And when you put these 2 together, you have that, which looks like a little tulip to me. Okay, so you're going to have those. You're going to make 4 of them. You're going to make 4 of these units. So there's that. And the next thing you do with that is you're going to sew that to the side. Now you've sewn these 2 together earlier. You would, it's the next thing you do is sew these 2 together. And what you want to make sure you do here is orient them in the right direction. Okay, so you need to look at the pictures. They're not supposed to be like that. They're supposed to be like that. Okay? And what will happen when you sew those together, you're going to end up coming there. All right? So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you sew these 2 together. Okay? You orient them in the right way like that, just like that, and just fold one up over the other. Okay? Like that. Go back to the machine. My scissors don't want to stay closed. Okay. There we go. Yeah, this is such a fun project. absolutely lovely. I'm enjoying the fabric. I think that's my favorite part of this whole project. Okay, so I'm sitting here at the machine. I want to make a double check, make sure I'm sewing the right side. So if I open that up, oops, that would be the wrong one to sew, wouldn't it? So what I need to do, if I turn it that way, is that right? Well, it is, but when you see it in the quilt, it'll be like that. Okay, so I want to sew right along that edge. I know it seems kind of silly when I show you these things, but if you're like me, you've made these mistakes, and it's better to have someone show you now than get in there and sew all of them together, open them up, and they're not right. Okay, so just got that lined up. Now I'm just going to sew my 1/4 inch seam and right on down like that. Okay. By the way, a good pair of little scissors or snips are invaluable. If you don't have a pair, get some really nice scissors you love, or little snips, something that just cuts the first time. Okay, so it's the same thing as before, where you just press this like that, and I'm going to turn that over so you can see that it's going down. That just kind of lessens the bulk. Okay, so I'm going to just press that like that. There we go. So that's all there is to making that unit. Okay, so once you have these made, you've got that. Well, you're going to sew a square to that unit we just made, like that. And then it goes like that. So once you have all that done, ta-da, you have this. Getting there, aren't we? Isn't that pretty? Okay, the next thing you do, you're going to sew this to the side like that. And you're going to take, oops, this guy is hiding. Is that the right guy? No, he's not. See how that's going the wrong direction? This is a good thing to show you. If you have something like that, pay attention. These guys come out like butterflies. So let me get you the right one, which I just had, and of course it's hiding. There we go. See that? See how that comes out like butterflies? That's how you know you've got the right one in the right place. Okay, so you're going to sew a 2.5 inch square onto this guy. This has been sewn here. This gets together and goes there. It kind of looks like that. And guess what you have when you're all done? There you go. Your first corner unit is ready to go. So you're going to make 4 matching corner units in every corner block. So the other part of the corner block that I'm going to show you next time is going to use those pieces that I showed you how to make in the earlier segments. It's going to use the hourglass units and the flying geese. So I'll show you next time how we're going to use those units to finish up the corner blocks. So your homework is to get the corner units done. And remember, pay attention to the orientation of your seamless seams when you're stitching, as well as fabric placement, because each block is a little bit different. And I hope you have a wonderful time, because the fabric is so absolutely gorgeous. I do wish you could feel it. It's just not fair that you don't get to from where you are. Anyway, if you want to get the kit, just go ahead, visit mccallsquilting.com/quiltalong, and you can get it there. And I think that's it. And I'll see you next time. I hope you have a lot of fun sewing.